guys, welcome to a really exciting video. So this has been highly requested and probably about a year in the making. So this is a part, what am I trying to say? This is a two-part video series and then it will continue beyond that. So we're going to continue to use the things that we learn here today and look at them. I have also created these workbooks, so they're available in my Etsy, and this will help you to learn how to create these things the quickest way possible. So one of the things is just becoming familiar with these really ornate and intricate details, and we will break them down and look at how we can simplify everything and look at the different types of shapes that are generally used to create them. And at the end of the video we'll also do some printing tips. So I have learned a couple of things in the last couple of weeks that I can share with you here, but firstly we're just going to go through here and look at some of my old sketchbooks. So you can see like there's a couple of Midori cotton ones there. There's a Sennelier one, some moleskins, and then this CD notebook from Apica. So I get these from Jet Pens, but you can see these have kind of been, they don't really have watercolor in them. They're mostly just pencil and working on lettering and also working on these frames and shapes as well. So I began doing these maybe in 2014, something like that, and just using some of the old French letters with their wax seals and things like that on them, and then building from there. Sometimes I would see like a tile or a photo reference that I would sort of try and create, my own sketch based off of that. And then also in being really inspired by those stone kind of medallions, I believe they're called cartouches, if I don't know how to say that, but along the, like the French, like the Parisian doorways, and they have those beautiful ornate sort of emblems above them, or carved medallions. So that is kind of also what I'm basing them off, and you can see they're like fireplaces, and just everywhere that I could find these really beautiful emblems, medallions, flourishes, this really ornate way of kind of the Rococo style, Baroque and that kind of thing. So you can see I'm just going to kind of show you through a few of the sketchbooks here to show you sort of where it was at that time and kind of how it's developed over the last few years, because one of the things that I want to be able to do, I want you to be able to do, so rather than me just kind of saying this is this emblem, let's draw this, I want to show you how they're created and help you to be able to create one that suits you, or create different types that suit your artwork. So I really like to use these in different ways. For one thing, I like to use them to frame some artwork. So there might be something like roses in the middle in kind of that Orbison style. Sometimes the frame might be on an actual sofa, like an old Louis style sofa. And also then after doing this for quite a few years, I developed one that I kind of use as my signature. And then even doing these videos, I found another one that I just created based off of that I have been using quite a lot to I kind of use it just at the end or somewhere on the page to kind of just sign the page. So one of the things about these is that they are a little bit daunting. There is a lot, you can see like here, there's a lot of different things going on here, different elements. And one of the things that I want you to think about, like you can see here how I've really simplified these, and I actually used these ones to create like a needlepoint. You You can see here on the front, so I embroidered just a piece of ribbon. I just put it into an embroidery hoop and used that kind of template to create like a little medallion for the front of my journal. So they're really versatile in different ways that you can use them. I also really love using them with gold ink, or different types of ink, and also I use pencil a lot still, just to sign something with the pencil. And you can see here that here's another really detailed one. So I think these were done sometime around 2016 or something like that. One of the things that I want you to think about when you're creating these, so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. One of the reasons that I made the workbooks is so that you can become familiar with them. So in the beginning, one of the things I would do is just print off photos or things that I'd seen and just leave them on my desk, stick them on my wall with washi tape, and not overly. So I wasn't really studying them. I was just enjoying them at that stage, and not pressuring myself to, like, you need to be able to sketch this, you have to sketch it by this time. Just enjoying and kind of allowing my brain to observe it and to get used to it. And then maybe once a week I would kind of just look at it and study it a little bit harder and a little bit longer, and look at, there's a curve here and a curve here, and that's kind of creating a triangle, or that's sort of more like a garland. And then I would just it can get a little bit overwhelming, so then you just leave it for a while and just continue to enjoy it. So that is something I really encourage you to do, is to for starters, pick maybe a sketchbook. There might be one that you have that you haven't wanted to use, and just use that for this process. Like you could see at the beginning there that a lot of those sketchbooks I just used for these types of things. And then also put something that you're working on or that you want to kind of be inspired by up on your wall. So it might be something in the handout, it might be something you find online, and you can cut that out and just pin that up so that that's the one thing that you're getting familiar with. So as far as picking a sketchbook, I have this Nostalgia, it's from Hahnemann, a Nostalgia sketchbook, and I had only just done a couple of things here in the back. You can see I have a couple of pages just tucked in there at the back, and then I had, as usual, I had done a couple of pages of color swatching, some different supplies and palettes at the back. So the rest of the sketchbook is still free, and there was nothing on the pages, so I thought this would be a perfect one to use for this. So you could see that the paper is kind of like good quality thick cardboard. It's not really the best sketchbook paper, but it's just, that's kind of what it is, good quality thick cardboard. And but I really love the cover of this sketchbook, so I think this would be a really nice one. And you can see here that I am just starting, not even by trying to draw any of these, just by looking through the sketchbook and trying to figure out where I can glue some of them in. So I'm also putting one of the pages in the front of this really large indigo art papers cotton sketchbook, and I am thinking that we might try painting this in the front of this at some point. But one of the nice things about this is that while you're learning, you can actually glue or tip in, or make a flap with some of the printables and then paint behind it. So if you're not happy with how it turns out, that's okay. And then I think at some point you'll go back and go, actually that wasn't too bad. So here's one of the printables that I'm thinking we can go around and use like pencils on it and actually draw in some of those design elements. Here's a map I thought was really inspiring to create with a little simple emblem and the bows. And then I thought that we could easily do the ceiling medallion there, and I really love this one as well to be able to do some pencil work and kind of add to that. And you can see here we're having an opossum break, so we spied this little opossum out of the window. But yeah, this is not something necessarily that I can teach you in 1 or 2 videos. So we're going to incorporate these into as many videos as possible from now until the next few months. And I've even managed to put some of them, I'll show you some footage in the end. So I've almost finished the footage for November's videos and half of December's, I think. So we're going to use some of these also in December's videos, and yeah, it's just something that's going to take some time to build these skills. And you can see here, like, this is a really nice one, and also the color wheels. I'll show you how I've done a bit of that. But you know, one of the things that I don't want you to be hard on yourself. So if you're having a hard time creating it, like, you can see what you want to create, but it's a little bit frustrating, you know, there is quite a big learning curve into creating these. They do get easier. So you know, if you've ever had a teacher who expects you to know how to do the thing on the very first lesson, it's quite a difficult process and you really want to give up. So don't be that person to yourself either. Like, just take the pressure off and just become familiar with them. Just enjoy them. And you can see here, like, with this one, I have just started the beginning of a little booklet here. And so you could put it in a travel's notebook. You could just use it to create a little sketchbook just for these. And the other thing is that even before I started using these in paintings or using them and adding color, I was just sketching with a pencil. So you can decide there, do you want to sketch you know, in pencil, in pen, with colored pencils, with, you know, watercolors or paint. You know, we'll work through these on the channel as I can get to the videos, but you know, you might set a goal for yourself just to maybe pin one up on your wall each week, a different one, and just kind of at the end of the week or somewhere in the week, you know, just have a little go at using one, at replicating one. And you might even set a time limit so that you don't get sort of frustrated and sit there for 3 or 4 hours. You know, they might be like, okay, I've got 20 minutes to work on this, and yeah, we'll see what I can get done. Okay, so you can see that I have prepared a page here, and guys, I'm really excited about these videos and how they've turned out, and the upcoming ones as well. So I'll show you at the end, but like next week we're going to work on roses, and yeah, the December ones are coming along really beautifully as well. So the first thing I did is set up my page here, and I'm looking through and seeing what elements that we can work on the channel for this video. So you can see here that I really like this little element in the middle because it's made up of all these curves, and this is a really, really good one to start with because it's a good representation of how these tiny little kind of C curves make up the majority of these very complex looking shapes. So changing the direction, changing the size, and then just, you know, so whether it's angled, you know, 15 degrees, 45 degrees, whether you do it horizontally or flip it and go back, you know, backwards, left or right, you can see here that like there's just all of these C curves that are creating these very, very complex shapes. And so when we start to break it down like that, that's the sort of thing that you're looking for. You can see like these are very, very complex, but then you look at it, here's a C shape, you know, above it, here's another C shape. And then there's these little tiny kind of, you know, C shapes, and kind of there starts to become some S shapes in there as well. So these are the things that we're going to look at in tomorrow's video as well. And this is a really good example of like taking one of these shapes, maybe cutting it out and taping that up so that that's what you're looking at, and that's what you can, kind of come to and just say, oh, yep, there's a couple of curves here and there's a couple of curves here. And quite often there is symmetry, and then sometimes they create these beautiful asymmetrical patterns as well, and that's what creates really interest in it. Okay, so you can see here that we and on every page you can see like this is a page just with some of the emblems that I think will really help you to learn and help you to kind of develop something of your own. And you can see that I've created like smaller curves here, larger ones, and I've put one on every page of these printables as well, like of this sort of workbook. But what I do like to do, and I highly recommend this, is that when you're drawing them, go from one side and then do the opposite side. And you can see that I'm kind of tracing them like that for you. So it'll help you to stay more symmetrical. It'll help the measurements. So like here, I'm just kind of doing all those three at once. But in the other ones, it's really good to do like the left and then do the right of the same kind of reverse one. Do the left, do the right in the reverse. So I think right here, because it's just easier with the camera angle, I just kind of work on the one side here. But generally whenever I'm doing them, I do the left and then I do the right, and that helps everything to stay more symmetrical. So I guess the first tip would be to become familiar with them without any pressure, just really enjoying them. And then the second tip would be to get a dedicated sketchbook for like drawing these and learning them. And then the third thing is to trace them. So, use a gel pen, use a pencil. Here I'm using the gold, the dog. So here I'm using the gold Winsor & Newton ink and a dip pen, which I'll link a video about this below and where I get everything. So I like to use particularly the gold nibs from Jet Pens, because they're just really easy to use and really lovely. So this gold ink, I think this is like my 8th bottle, and I started using it in 2014 or somewhere around there, and I just have never stopped. And certainly it does not have to be this ink. There's so many beautiful inks on the market, but I really feel like this one fits the time, and then it also kind of just elevates the page a little bit. So you can see here like how beautiful that looks once you have just traced it in gold. You're just becoming familiar with the shapes at this point. And then you can cut this out and stick it on one of your sketchbook pages. You don't have to straight up like, oh, I have to draw this entire thing by hand and, it's going to be very difficult. This needs to be a really easy and just comfortable and enjoyable process. I think that the more comfortable and just enjoyable you make these kind of sessions, the quicker that you will learn it and the happier you'll be with the results. So again, you can see here that like I'm looking for that C shape. The first thing I do is look for the C shape, and then I'm just kind of playing around with this lace design here. So there's little the pin marks in the lace there, or the kind of parts where they've left that area, and I'm just dotting that along there. And one of the reasons that I picked these particular elements for these workbooks is that they have some similar shapes and then some different shapes, and some kind of that kind of overlap and teach you the same things, and just some that are really fun and enjoyable, like this scalloped edge. And the really simple and elegant lace flowers in between as well. So there's so many ways to style these emblems to your own taste. And also using these templates is going to give you a head start on spacing and angles and things like that. So that is one of the reasons as well that I created the alphabet printables, and I take a long time to create them. I know that the capital letters are still they're still being worked on, but it takes a long time to get those angles exactly right, so that when you are practicing, you're getting that brain recognition and the muscle memory happening. So in the case of these emblems, someone has meticulously created these really pleasing shapes, and that's what we can begin to work on and work with. So you can see in this one they've kind of broken it up into several smaller C's around the bottom and to the side, and then again we have this kind of scalloped or like this kind of shell motif that goes around the edges. And so this one I also like to use a lot, and so you can see here that I'm just using the gold ink just to go into these areas. And there are simpler ones in the workbook that you can start with and then move on to these more complex ones, as you feel comfortable. And you can also simplify them, so you don't have to go over every single thing here. And then, if you're not sort of sure, like here for the leaves, it's a little bit tricky to kind of see exactly what they were doing here with some of these leaves. So just kind of make it up as you go as well, and then you end up with just this really lovely finished piece. And definitely cut those out and use them in your sketchbook, or just staple this together or tie it with some ribbon and create this as a workbook, and it will be a really beautiful workbook once you've finished it as well. So the other thing that you can do is use tracing paper, or you can see here I'm using this cotton vellum, and you can just pick and choose elements as well and build your own from a few different emblems in here. So you could take this middle section here and then pair that with something on another one as well. But for now I'm just going to create this little middle section here that I've been looking at and thinking about throughout this video, and we're just tracing this, and I'm going to use this in tomorrow's video. So this will be kind of a starting point for us to look at and to work through some of these shapes. And you can see here again that a lot of it is these C shapes in different directions. So you can see here that I've spent some time tearing some things up, creating little pockets, and sort of getting the sketchbook ready for some future videos. But I think this is a really nice way for you also to just enjoy these, the sort of creation of these. So as I'm flipping through here, I used the red curtain, and we've kind of skipped past it, but the red curtain at the front, I want to replicate that on the right side of the page and create a curtain there and cut out an opening to go through to those the more text pages. So we'll do that, but you can see here as well, I really love using these as some color wheels. So I've got like the pencils there, and the I've also used one of the pages here with, again, this video will be coming up, just to create your own sketchbook out of paper that you have, or it might be paper that's your favorite paper, and just using some ribbons to bind it, and that would be really nice as well to send as a gift. But yeah, so I'm going through and I'm actually looking to use some of these to create page breaks. So I'm looking for one to put on the left side here that will kind of start off. So we just did a video swatching out a bunch of colours for an art haul, and I'm looking for something here to start this kind of series of pages. So going back to that idea of not needing to do everything myself on the first go and just becoming familiar with things, I can cut this out and use that to, just as I flip through the sketchbook, I again start to become familiar with it. And you can see here that I'm kind of showing you how I'm cutting around it. So I'm not doing it very meticulously, but what I do is move the paper and keep the stroke of the scissors as kind of one continuous stroke for as long as I can. I think I kind of show you here in a minute. So not do the chopping motion, but like keep, do that continuous stroke, and that will help you to kind of cut things out quickly and also effectively. So you can see here that I created a little tuck spot out of that one, and I always have kind of these spare little floating pieces of paper that I've swatched on or done something on that I can tuck in there. And then here I'm just showing you, this is my printer HPMV 5660, was that it? So it's nothing special. And I actually, the other week, so I'd run out of ink, I went downstairs to use the sort of family one, and it's a better printer, and the quality was just no good. So this, I think, is a laser printer, and you can see that I forgot to press horizontal, and then it came out smaller. But you can see here just on my little printer there, the quality comes out really crisp. So after I had used the laser printer, I was freaking out about it, and I spent a week trying to figure out what to do about that. But Etsy won't let me, put them in any higher definition. So, but on the inkjet printers, they seem to print out really well. So that's just a note to be careful of, and I'm going to add that to the listing. So on my printer, it doesn't even ask if I want it horizontal or not. It just knows that that's the way it's formatted, and it creates it like that. So just be sure to print out a trial page before you do it. But you can print them at the library or at Staples or something like that as well. But again, ask them to do it on an inkjet, I'd say. So then here you can see that I'm actually tracing the rows for next week's video. So I'm tracing it off my laptop because I wanted to make it bigger. So I feel like painting it on screen, you can see like it's a smaller size because that's the size of the rose kind of in real life, and that also, you know, fit on the page nicely. But I wanted to enlarge it so that I could, you know, paint it in the video a little bit easier. So I just did that right from my computer screen. I just zoomed in on it and then traced it directly on there. And you can also trace them with a watercolor pencil. So say you don't want to have the grey pencil, you can use like the, you know, something like the Caran d'Ache Super Color Soft in Granite Rose or something like that. So that's a couple of tips about the printing. You can see there we've started the rose, and then this is another one from the printable workbook that we're going to start December with. So I'm not sure yet. I think we'll talk about December a little bit as it goes a bit closer. But yeah, there are some really beautiful videos coming. I just don't know whether, anyway, we'll talk about that. We might just do like a 12 days of Christmas rather than an advent calendar. So there might be more than 12 videos, but I don't know if I can commit to 25 videos, so we'll see. Maybe one every few days. But anyway, guys, I will see you soon in part 2. Have a really nice day. Bye.